Yunobo, the descendant of the Goron champion Daruk, has come from the future to help in the fight against the calamitous forces gathering against Hyrule. In Age of Calamity, Yunobo is a brawler who uses his natural strength combined with his inherited protection ability to take on all of his foes. However, his full capacity as a fighter might not be immediately apparent for anyone just picking him up. Let's roll on in and find out everything that he can do. Yunobo's regular attack string consists of 7 attacks. He will punch from the right, from the left, smash the ground in front, pull a rock from the ground and throw it upwards, clap his hands together, do a spinning attack that moves him forward, and then finish with one last big punch forward. For his regular dash attack, Yunobo will trip out of his roll, smashing any enemies that he hits while he comes crashing to the ground. And after this, of course, you can also transition into his regular attack string. For his strong dash attack, Yunobo will send off a fist like a rocket, which is actually just his first strong attack. He glows yellow here for a moment, but in order to not overcomplicate things yet, I'll save what exactly that means for his unique action and strong attack section. Let's move on to his aerials for now. His regular aerial attack will have him slam his body down on the ground, and this action can actually be repeated on and on as long as you continue to hit the button at the right time. His strong aerial has him body flop back down to the ground, and this move can actually stagger and reveal enemy weak points if you hit them in the right place. Last up, let's cover Yunobo's Sheikah Slate runes. Starting with his stasis, he will time lock the enemies in front of him, and then immediately go into a canned animation where he smashes down 3 times, creating a larger and larger impact with each one. You can dodge cancel out of this animation so that you can use a different attack after this, and for reasons that I'll get into in a little bit, you will almost always want to do this. Next up is his Cryonis, where he will make an enormous cylindrical piece of ice, and if you do nothing, he will just land on it. However, you can also press X for a follow-up attack where he will spin down and smash it. For his Magnesis rune, Yunobo will gather up magnetic items and do a spinning attack. If you use this when there's nothing to grab, the rune will fail, however, it will also not start up your cooldown. Last up, for his Remote Bomb rune, Yunobo will enter a brief aiming stance, and either after a brief amount of time or by pressing Y, he will instantly start rolling through them, exploding the bombs as he passes over them. All in all, Yunobo's most basic attacks are pretty straightforward and easy to understand. However, the way that his unique action and strong attacks interact are really where his complexity lies. So let's get to that next. As I stated before, there is a certain glow on Yunobo when he does his dashing strong attack, which also happens to be his first strong attack. This glow is a hint towards utilizing his unique action mechanic. So let's finally get into that. When you press the unique action button, Yunobo will eat a rock roast, which will activate his barrier power. This will randomly give you one of 3 possible barriers, and these consist of either an orange smooth one, a yellow flickery one, and a red spiky one, all of which last on Yunobo for about 30 seconds, and are additionally able to damage enemies on contact. The red one is especially good at this. However, the real value of these barriers are how they enhance your strong attacks. The color that each of Yunobo's strong attacks give off tell you which barrier you should have up in order to get the stronger version of the attack. So if you have his yellow barrier up, his first strong attack will send off an even larger rock fist. And although it doesn't seem that big, when you learn that this move will then also force out enemy weak points, this turns out to be a pretty huge addition. Just like with Zelda and her Sheikah Slate, Yunobo has the ability to force out enemy weak point gauges at will with only a minor amount of setup. After hitting your foe with this move, you will then want to time lock the gauge with stasis, dodge cancel out of the animation immediately, and then go right into another series of attacks, which will usually lead to you doing a quick weak point smash, which is where the majority of the damage in this game can come from. Not only does this work for his first strong attack, with the correct barrier, Yunobo can force out enemy weak point gauges every time with any of them. However, not all of them can capitalize on things as well as this one can. Before moving on to his later strong attacks, I want to add in just a few more tips on using his unique action. First thing, you can just hold ZR to have Yunobo continue to automatically eat more roasts, cycling through them until you get the barrier that you want. However, you need to be sure to let go of the button when you get the one you're looking for pretty quickly. Next, Yunobo can actually eat these rock roasts while he's midair, so if you end up in the air when you don't want to be, you can just use the time to eat a rock roast and see what barrier you get. The last thing to remember is that if you do have the barrier up that you don't want, you will have an exactly 50% chance of getting the one that you want next. So even if you don't get the one that you want, the next one that you're looking for will have a decent chance to happen. It also has a decent chance for it to not happen, so you need to weigh how much time you're willing to invest to get the very specific barrier that you want. Remember, they are all good. Alright, let's tackle the rest of his moves. For his second strong attack, Yunobo will pick up a rock and smash it with a well-timed punch. This move glows orange, so if you use his orange barrier to enhance it, he will instead pick up a humongous rock and punch it in the same way, which, as I said, will also force out enemy weak points on top of enhanced range and damage. Next up, for his third strong attack, Yunobo will go on a roll that can be extended by continuing to mash the strong attack button, and he ends this with a ground slap. This attack benefits from the red spiky shield, which changes it to use an expanded barrier to greatly enhance the size of the roll. And the ground slap at the end will also cause a lava pillar to erupt from the ground. The start of the roll is the part that forces out weak points in this case, but unfortunately the extendable roll doesn't do a good job of breaking them down from there. And so you might be better off just trying to avoid larger enemies while you're going for your roll through big crowds. Next up, Yunobo's fourth strong attack will have him do an extendable spinning attack with his arms, which he finishes by doing an overhead punch. This move benefits from the red spiky shield, which, like the previous attack, will greatly increase the area and range of it. Also, like the previous one, the weak point exposing part of this attack happens at the very beginning. However, unlike the last attack, this spinning move is pretty great at cutting through the gauge on its own. Next up, for his fifth strong attack, Yunobo will jump into the air and pound the ground in a ball, before making a rock fist that shoots him high up into the sky again. After this, you can transition into riding the wind or doing any of his aerial attacks. This move benefits from the orange smooth barrier, which causes much more rock fists to spawn at the end, greatly increasing the area that they hit. This move can absolutely destroy weak point gauges whenever it's used, so it's a great attack to use in a duel whenever you happen to have the correct orange barrier. Last up, for his sixth and final strong attack, Yunobo will create a cannon and fire himself out of it, which causes him to fly a long way forward. This attack benefits from the yellow barrier, and if you use it, this barrier will expand while he is being shot out of the cannon, and then explode in a much larger attack that also creates lava that shoots up when you're landing. Like with the previous move, this attack can also completely devastate the weak point gauges that it forces out when you use the enhanced version. Well, with all of his attacks covered, let's move on to his weapons and weapon build recommendation next. Yunobo has 3 possible weapons, and going from weakest to strongest, they are his raw rock roast, medium rare rock roast, and rock roast flambe. I'll put a chart up on screen right now to show off their hidden level 25 and 30 seals, but for my weapon build recommendation today, I'm going to be focusing on his rock roast flambe. With a star-shaped seal and square-shaped seal on this weapon already, this is a pretty straightforward recommendation, as you're going to want to have 3 of those shapes and 1 of the other. The 2 best of these shaped seals are the square-shaped attack speed seal and star-shaped strong attack damage seals. And I'd probably recommend getting 3 attack speed seals and just 1 of the strong attack seals. As a duelist, Yunobo can get much better at breaking down weak point gauges by cycling to one of his strong attacks after you've used his mechanic to force out weak point gauges and then stasis to freeze it. And just like that, we have Yunobo. Let's roll it all together and see where he ends up. Yunobo really does have quite the interesting fighting style when everything he can do is fully considered. What appears at first to just be your typical warriors fighter actually turns into a true master duelist when you know how to use him, with the only limiter on this being the way his random unique mechanic keeps him from always being in complete control. When you understand how to fully put it to use, The mixture of all of these things make Yunobo a very engaging character to utilize in battle, one who can absolutely dominate every fight that he gets himself into. All in all, despite his youth, cowardly look, and stupid hair, Yunobo really can prove himself a worthy champion indeed. So, what are your thoughts on Yunobo? Be sure to let me know in the comments below, and also if there was anything big that I missed, go ahead and drop that down below as well. I'll be making a pinned comment on this video if I need to, for anything big that I may have forgotten about. As always, thank you so much for watching everyone, and I hope to see you next time. Big thank you to my top patrons DW7 Still Rules, Henry Gutierrez, and Ryan Poe, as well as to all of my other patrons on Patreon. Thank you all very much. If you would like to support this channel and my main channel Shanebrained, check out the links in the description. Thank you all very much.